Well, an emergency finally happened. One thing about budgeting is that you always have an emergency fund and you hope that the emergency isn't going to happen, but it does. It's not if it's going to happen, it's when it's going to happen, and it happened to us this week. So today we are breaking down what I spent in a week on vacation. My family and I went to Savannah, Georgia for the week. And so we enjoyed some vacation time together, but we also spent a lot of money. So let's break down how much we spent this week, what we spent it on, and what this emergency was that we're talking about. Really quickly, before we get started on this was not a vacation of like a strict budget by any means. I budgeted $2,600 for our total vacation. And it was because I knew that once we got down there, I didn't want to have to worry about what we were spending on lunches or dinners. I just wanted to freely enjoy some nice food and kind of get whatever we wanted down there, as well as if we wanted to do any shopping or anything. So this was definitely, we were on a budget, but not really because I set the budget very high for us. I'm thankful that I did because we weren't that far off, but I do want to make that mention really quickly that this was not like, how cheap can we do it? This was more of like, okay, I'm setting it high. So once we get down there, we don't have to worry and we can just enjoy our time down there. So thankfully, this trip was actually a networking work event for my husband's work. So the hotel that was down in Savannah, Georgia was paid for us. We just had to stay at hotels on the way up there or on the way down there and back. And so we didn't have to pay for the hotel down there. And then we also did not have to pay for gas. My husband, his work thankfully picked up the gas for us because even if me and my son didn't go with, my husband was still going to have to either pay for gas or pay for a flight down there. So they paid for the gas for us. So that was really nice. And that was something that I had scheduled into the budget that we did not have to pay for. So very grateful for that one. But let's go ahead and break down all the other spending that we did for the week. Starting off on Saturday, we left town on Saturday and obviously started driving down there. So we stopped at 4 different gas stations. One of those was Buc-ee's. So I don't know if you guys maybe have heard of Buc-ee's. It's usually in the South, but we stopped there. We had never gone there before, so we just wanted to kind of check it out. It is massive. It is like a mini Walmart, basically. And so we checked out all the toys. Our son ended up getting a couple toys for himself. Like obviously we bought them for him. And then we ended up getting their like barbecue sandwiches and we got a couple other things. We got their like, they're known for their like nuggets is what they call them. Really, I was not prepared. I thought they were going to be like cheesy nuggets, but they were like caramel corn basically. So we ended up spending at Buc-ee's by itself $66.14, but it was kind of fun to kind of get to look around and just kind of see what all they had and pick out some stuff that we wanted to try. So then for dinner, we ended up going to Chick-fil-A. I should say like for lunch, we just ate lunch and snacks like at the gas stations until dinner. But I also packed some food for us as well in a cooler. So we had some food in the car for the first day, at least. I figured that was a way to kind of save a little bit of money, but also it was easy enough to just kind of pack some stuff. And it came in really good handy because my son loved the summer sausage that I cut and brought with. So that worked out really well for us. So we went to Chick-fil-A on the way down there. And then we also went to Chick-fil-A on the way up. And that is because Chick-fil-A has their play places. And so with us being in the car for as long as we were, it was really nice to let our son get out and kind of run and let off some steam playing. We also stopped at a rest area at one point and let him play on the playground. So we just kind of tried to stop every so often just to let him kind of get out, stretch his legs, run around for 30 minutes or so. So it was really nice to get to do that. And then on Saturday night, we stayed at a Hampton Inn. And that was like just on the outskirts of Nashville. And that was $203.87. So with all of our gas station runs, our Chick-fil-A, and our hotel stay, Saturday's total came out to $354.72. On Sunday, we woke up in the morning. The hotel that we stayed at had complimentary breakfast, so we went ahead and took advantage of that and ate as much breakfast as we could, and then went on our way. We stopped at 2 gas stations in this point, and same thing, we just kind of got our lunches and our snacks at gas stations for this day. And then we made it into Savannah, Georgia that night, and we got dinner there. So when we were in Savannah at the hotel, they had like different food options. So we stayed at the JW Marriott Plant Riverside. It was gorgeous. It's right on the river, and it just has like really good, like we love going and staying at the JW Marriotts, especially like usually when my husband has these networking events, they always schedule them at JW Marriotts, and they are so nice, you guys. I'm like, it's insane how nice these hotels are, but they have some really good food options at the hotel. So we ended up getting the smokehouse for dinner that night, and that ended up being $62.57, which brought our Sunday total to $95.51. On Monday, we woke up and we went down. They had a little market downstairs, so it was like a cafe / market, and they have breakfast, lunch, and dinner there. So we ended up getting breakfast, and that was $72.39. That was a pretty big breakfast, so all 3 of us ate quite a bit of food. So we weren't really hungry when it came to lunch. We had the cooler with us in the hotel room, so we still had some snacks left in the cooler. So our son just ate some snacks from there for lunch. And then my husband and I we were good with skipping lunch because of how much we ate for breakfast. We then got some gelato as a treat, and we spent $17.12. And then this night on Monday was one of the nights where my husband had a networking event. So they cover his dinner. It's included in like the plan or whatever, that like the event basically that he paid for. So he had dinner already covered for him, and then I just needed to figure out dinner. So for this night, I went to the steakhouse and I got it to go and took it back up to the room so that my son and I could have a really nice steak dinner. So I ended up spending $148.75 there. I got their filet mignon, and then I got mashed potatoes and fries for the side. So that was really good, and my son and I really enjoyed that dinner. And then afterwards, after my husband's networking thing, he went out with some of the friends that he had there, and he spent $23.63 on some drinks for himself. I just kind of hung out in the room with my son, and I was like, go be with your people, go do your thing. So that's what he did. So he got back late on Tuesday night, and he got to go have some drinks with them and stuff. So that was awesome. For Monday's total, it was $261.89. Moving on to Tuesday here, we woke up and had breakfast again. So Tuesday, I should say, my husband had his all-day networking. So it was Monday evening, and then it was Tuesday all day for him. So they gave him, he had breakfast, lunch, and dinner on Tuesday provided to him. So it was just me and my son that had to get ourselves food. So we went down to the market, and we got the market, I should say, like the cafe inside of the hotel. And we ended up getting breakfast and spent $56.88. My son and I just had a nice time hanging out together for the day. So then we went back to the market for their lunch, and we ended up spending $45.87. And then for dinner, I got my son and I some pizza and some pasta, and we spent $93.88 there. And then for drinks, my husband went out for drinks again, and this night he spent $40.99. For that brings Tuesday's total to $237.62. On Wednesday, this was our time to head back home, so we got in the car in the morning. We left about 10 a.m. We wanted to leave earlier, but we were just slow moving in the morning. And so we ended up leaving. And, but before we left, we got breakfast and we spent $47.48 on some breakfast. Then we set off on the road, and for lunch, we got Subway. We spent $19.74 at Subway. We stopped at a gas station at one point, and then for dinner, we got Chick-fil-A, and that was because we let our son run around, like I mentioned before. The Chick-fil-A dinner was $29.97. That brings our total for Wednesday to $104.59. Now, this is where the emergency kind of comes into play here. So as my husband and I were driving home on Wednesday, our son was like, he was over the trip. He was done. He wasn't feeling well. He was getting a little car sick. At one point, he like kind of almost got sick, and I like dumped out a bunch of toys from a bucket to like help. But thankfully, he did not actually get sick. But he was just not feeling good. He was crying. He was really upset. He was like occupied for the most part, but he couldn't watch. We brought like an iPad, and he couldn't watch it because that's what made him sick. And he couldn't really like look down or play with his toys because he'd feel sick. So he just had to look out. So for a 3-year-old, that is really hard. So he was having a hard time on the way home. He did, 98% of the time he was just fine, but we did have some moments where he was just completely over it. He just wanted to be home. He wanted to be with our dog. Like he was having a hard time. This is the first time he's ever gone on like a really long vacation with us. Usually he's only gone on like a weekend trip. So this is the first time that it was like an all week type situation. So my husband and I were just doing our best to try to drive as far as possible. And then our son ended up falling asleep for the night. Like he took a nap during the day, but then for the night, he ended up falling asleep early because he wasn't feeling well. So he fell asleep at like 8 p.m. and we were still driving at this point. And keep in mind, we had dinner, so he ran around and played and all of that at Chick-fil-A. And then we got in the car, drove for a couple hours, and then he fell asleep. Once he fell asleep, my husband and I kind of looked at each other and we were like, if you feel good, I feel good. Like, let's just keep driving as far as we can possibly go. Around 10 o'clock at night, my husband and I switched. So I started driving and he got in the passenger seat, and we were like, let's just keep trucking and go as long as we can. Like we both felt good. We were both wide awake. Like everything was fine. So around midnight, we were driving. We were just about 30 minutes outside of St. Louis because that's the way that we were coming back home. We were about 30 minutes outside of St. Louis when I went to change lanes because a truck was slowing down in front of us. And as I was changing lanes, I hit a massive pothole and immediately blew a tire. At 12 a.m. on the interstate, I blew a tire with a sleeping toddler in the back of our car, and we were like, oh my gosh. So I hit the pothole and I realized, I was like, something's wrong. I can hear something. I could hear like the hissing of the tire, but I didn't quite know exactly what it was. I assumed it was a tire, but I was trying to figure it out. I was like, something's not right. We hit something, or like something broke. And so my husband was like, what do you mean? And as he was asking that, a light turned on, low tire pressure light came on, and my husband was like, nope, we have to pull over. Thankfully, right as he said that, we went to pull over and we saw a rest area, like it was the exit for a rest area. So we pulled off into the rest area and we got up there and we were trying to look at the tire. We pulled under a light, and then my husband was trying to figure out where the hole was on the tire because sure enough, it was flat. So we got the tire off and we were trying to figure it out. Unfortunately, my vehicle does not come with a spare. It only comes with a repair kit. So we were trying to figure out if maybe a repair kit could help it. But once we got the tire off, we found out that it was on the sidewall and the tire was shot. At this point, thankfully it was a rest area, so we were able to go to the bathroom. Our son woke up in the middle of all of this happening, so he went to the restroom. We just kind of regrouped, and then we called the on-call. So we have roadside assistance through Volvo. So we called the on-call for Volvo. They had to call and figure out a tow truck that could come and get us. They were 90 minutes out, so we had to wait 90 minutes for a tow truck. At this point, they had asked us if we wanted to ride with the tow truck. We could, but they were like, only 2 people can ride with the tow truck. And we were like, well, that's not going to work because we have a toddler who has a car seat. So they were like, well, you'll just have to kind of figure out another option. When they got the tow truck driver scheduled, he went ahead and called us, and thankfully he was like, hey, I have a back seat if you guys want. He's like, I've got a kid as well, so I understand. He's like, you guys can just put the car seat in the back seat of my car or my tow truck and I can drive you guys. And we told him, we were like, we're going to try to find an Uber, but if all else fails, then we will go ahead with yours. We went to try to book an Uber. It was like $93 and no one would pick us up. Like no Ubers were accepting our ride. At this point, we were like nearing 2 a.m. So I can imagine that it is weird for an Uber to see a 2 a.m. pickup at a rest area and taking them to a hotel. So nobody would pick us up. So we ended up texting the tow truck driver because we had his phone number and we were like, hey, we are going to ride with you. No one with Uber will pick us up. He was like, that's perfectly fine. We just had to wait for him. So we waited for him. He finally got there about 3:30 in the morning and he was very kind to help us get everything up and loaded. And then we were able to drive into town with him. He got us dropped off to our hotel. Before he got there, we called and we booked a hotel that was right nearby where the dealership was. So for Volvo, they want to tow it to a Volvo dealership. So luckily, St. Louis has a Volvo dealership. And so that was about 30 minutes out. So we just found a hotel that was right down the street from the dealership. And we went ahead and called and booked that so that we had somewhere to stay for the night because the dealership wasn't going to open until 7 a.m. at this point. So we just needed to sleep and we would figure it out in the morning. And if you can remember, we just replaced all 4 tires about 2 weeks ago. So we blew a brand new tire. So that was awesome. But anyways, it's fine. Everything's okay. So we got dropped off at the hotel at 4 a.m. and then he took our car to the dealership, dropped it off there, texted us that it was there and got everything set up. So then we just went to sleep and we just had to wait until the morning. So we went to sleep at 4 a.m. Our poor son, he was such a trooper through all of this. He was doing so good. He was just kind of like, oh, we like have a flat tire, like, okay, it's okay, and then he loved to go and ride in the tow truck and all of that. But at this point, because he had woken up and then when we got dropped off at the hotel, he was definitely very tired. So we got to sleep for a little while. The dealership called us at 7:30 in the morning and luckily they were able to find the exact tire that we needed. They had it in stock. So they went ahead and got our tire changed and we were able to be back on the road at 10 a.m. So we obviously had to pay for the hotel stay. That was $175. We were gonna stay at a hotel anyways if we weren't able to like make it far enough or if we got too tired. We had always planned to stay at a hotel. We were just trying to push through, but that's okay. So we had the $175 hotel stay. And then the tire, for them to get the tire and put it on, we spent $432.52. Thankfully, we got the road hazard warranty on the tires, so we will be getting reimbursed for the tire. So that is a good thing. So we'll actually be getting reimbursed for that. Volvo, because we bought a certified used vehicle when we got it, we still had 4 to 5 years of roadside assistance. So the roadside assistance covers 25 miles of a tow, and the dealership was 31 miles away from where we were. We didn't see a bill, like nobody charged us for anything that night, so we don't know if we'll be getting a bill in the mail or what, but right now we haven't had to pay anything for the tow. And then when we got on the road at 10 o'clock, we only had about 4 hours left to go, so we drove for the 4 hours. And we ended up getting into a town where my husband actually has a friend that works there. So we stopped and got to see them for a little bit. And then we had dinner at a Mexican restaurant, and that was $41.81. And then we got back in town at the perfect time frame to pick our dog up. So they only have like certain time frames that you can pick them up. So we got to pick her up. She stayed at the doggy hotel for the week. She got a bath and her nails done. She smelled so good when we picked her up. And for that total, that was $545 for her to stay there and get her bath and everything. That brought Thursday's total to $1,194.33. Which means our total for the entire trip, emergency included, was $2,248.66. And that includes the tire that we had to put on that we will get reimbursed for. But for right now, we don't have that reimbursement. So we're just going to have to pay for that. We do also have trip interruption through our car insurance. So if we get any sort of bill for the tow, our trip interruption will pay for the bill for that. So we'll just kind of see what happens there. But thankfully, the tow will be taken care of for us. And then the tire will be reimbursed. All we have is that hotel stay, which we would have had anyways if we weren't feeling up to continuing the drive. So all is good. I just kept telling my husband and my son, I was like, you know what? At least we are together and we're safe, and that's all that matters. So we got very lucky that there was a rest stop immediately at the point that we popped a tire, and we just got very lucky with a lot of things, with the tow truck driver helping us to ride with him and him dropping us off at the hotel. And we even got lucky with the fact that the dealership had our tire, because our tire is like a very specific size that most dealerships don't even carry anyways. And so we got very lucky that they had the tire on hand and were able to fix it so quickly for us. So we're really appreciative of that. And yeah, we are very happy to be home. And this morning now, today is Friday the 31st, we are going to go trick-or-treating tonight. But this morning, my son woke up and his throat was hurting. He said that it hurt yesterday as well. So first thing in the morning, I took him to the doctor and we found out that he has strep throat. So he is currently napping right now and he already took his medication for today. So I'm just going to kind of see how he feels, and maybe we'll kind of have to do the trick-or-treating for him while he kind of like walks around near us. We don't want him near like other kids and stuff by any means, because I know what it's like to have strep throat and I don't want anyone else to get it. So we're going to have to figure out what we're going to do for Halloween tonight, considering the fact that he is sick. So he's like feeling good and he's like chipper and everything. He just has that positive strep throat test. And thankfully I have really good insurance. So they usually always cover whatever I have to pay for whatever, like our walk-in clinic. We usually get a bill for like $6 and my prescriptions are free. So the prescription for him, the medication was free. We'll just probably get like a $6 bill for the visit today. So not too bad considering everything, but that is where we're at. We are very happy to be home. We are ready to get back into some normal. If you made it this far, thank you very much for watching. I am really happy that you guys are here and enjoying the content. Leave a comment down below and tell me if you guys have had a recent emergency and what it was and how much you had to pay for it. And until then, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.